Today we got a Mustang with LS swap, turbo kit, and Holley Terminator X. I know that's super weird and unexpected. This car was entirely put together by the owner, and it's got all of the typical sloppy mechanic stuff on it. A turbo 400, a 2.5 bar, snake eater 1500. Let's see, reading the list over here. Sloppy stage 2 cam, Mac valves, not sure about the PID numbers, I already set that up. Got some new plugs in it, blah blah blah. When this was dropped off, one of the first things he said was, I don't think you're gonna have any problems with it, which that's always like worst case scenario. And that was basically followed with the fuel pressure's at 70 pounds and won't go down. So played with the regulator a little bit and just determined it needed to be replaced, threw a new regulator on it, and now we're good in that department. And it would start, and it ran good, but it ran sort of weird. I don't really know how to just explain it, but something just seemed off. And then once it heated up, it wouldn't start again. And then we got a crank signal error on the ECU. So I swapped a new crank sensor in, and between the regulator and the new sensor, it's actually running significantly better so far, knock on everything. This is the first time I've seen a switch panel actually welded to the roof, so that's different. And it's got a second fuel pump that's actually on a switch, and then the first fuel pump is triggered by the ECU like normal. I'm gonna tell him he's got to fix that. I strongly advise against doing that, because if you simply forget to flip that switch on, it's just going to be game over. So hopefully my stupid ass can remember to flip it all day long. All right, let's see if it'll cold start. I'll take that. It's like a whole new car compared to yesterday. Be done within 6 seconds of rolling the car. It sounds like the rear end's about to fall out. Let's go investigate. After a couple people stopping by wanting to talk and taking this thing on and off the dyno a couple of times and a little creativity, I think I have it where we can make some runs. Something he's definitely going to have to address, but hopefully we can just get it on and off the dyno, so yeah, you can finally kind of enjoy it. Uh-oh. That's scary. Won't be taking this for any test drives. Sweating to death already. Guess we will start doing some part throttle fuel tuning first. The good news is the rear end hasn't fallen out yet, and the bad news is that the boost was like 3 pounds difference between 2 runs with no changes, so boost control might turn out to be a little janky on this one. Awesome. Throw 5 pounds of CO2 on it and the boost went down 5 psi. Nothing about that makes any sense. So, let the troubleshooting begin. Appears I made a critical error in my career choice. Deep down, I always knew I should have been a rapper.
I can rap about anything.
How the hell does the boost go down? Go see if anything fell off. Definitely a bit confused. I don't see anything wrong, so I'm actually going to put some more CO2 on it and see if it gets better or worse. Pressure held pretty good, about 10 psi, and made about 8 pounds of boost. Solenoids are going nuts just sitting here. Sounds like it's got a leak, probably the gates themselves. Don't hear anything leaking. It's hot, probably shouldn't touch that. Ow, don't do that. Actually making less power with the CO2 on just because the boost is lower, but it's crazy flat. Fuel's right on the money, so I'm just going to turn the CO2 up until we can get to a point where the boost is sort of higher than where we started. Granted, it's just kind of a cheap gauge, but that probably explains everything we're seeing. This is super annoying because this wasn't doing this yesterday. was a little bit interesting about the solenoids going nuts is that it's actually maintaining the correct dome pressure, no problem. And just going every which way with the PID control, it's not changing that. Like, you can make the dome pressure value become really unstable, but you can't make the solenoid shut up. So I don't know, man, this is just sometimes what happens when you deal with some of these inexpensive parts, you know, like these wastegates and blow-off valves and stuff. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but the good news is they're so inexpensive. You roll the dice, and if it doesn't work out, then, you know, it's not the end of the world to swap them out to something a little bit nicer. All right, just keep checking stuff out. Everything's kind of checking out to be okay. Just did the hell with it, threw like 35 pounds of dome pressure on it, and it actually held it, maintained it far better than I would have expected. But it made 25 pounds of boost for like 1/10 of a second, and then by the time we got to max RPM, it dropped more than 10 pounds. So I think this might just be an issue, like a mechanical issue outside of my control. Keep checking things out. Not looking too good for this one so far. Give it one more shot, then might be phone call time. Definitely off mechanically.
Where's the power?
35 pounds of dome pressure is only making 19 psi. It's only making 522 horsepower. I mean, visually, without me starting to take things apart, everything looks okay. Let me give him a shot real quick and see if maybe he knows something that I don't know. Who knows, maybe this turbo just sucks. I don't even know what turbo it is. Not sure how well you can hear with the camera, but I got about 20 psi of pressure on it right now. So no, it might not be the problem, but it's definitely a problem. Just kind of hoping to get a little bit more with that. Just hoping to find something exploded off the car I didn't see or something. This isn't going to take care of all of our problems, but about half of this O-ring is missing. It's actually kind of impressive that that's still holding together, so I'll swap that out real quick. Try one more for the hell of it. There's basically no way that any of that has fixed anything relevant or significant, but what the hell. Not sure if it hit boost cut or blew a pipe off, but either way, maybe that's a good sign. Actually, did make a little bit more boost. Just shot the clamp off. See issues with these like 4-inch to 3-inch 90-degree couplers all the time. They're like blown out like crazy and they always explode, but fix that, I guess. The main thing here is, even though the boost isn't doing what we want, I could really care less about that. Just the big thing is that it's down on power. I built some offset tables and actually got the boost really flat at like 20 pounds. Dome pressure and target boost follow themselves right on the money. But at 20 pounds, it makes 518 horsepower. That's not acceptable. One last Hail Mary attempt, which I would bet everything I own that it won't make a difference, but we'll try it anyway. Another 3 pounds and it made picked up 2 horsepower. Yeah, I don't know, I think this one's gonna be out of my control. It's running great, just kind of a turd. So your fuel pressure issue is fixed and your crank trigger issue is fixed. The car is actually running significantly better. Before, when I was trying to just even free revving it, you know, hold it up at 1500, 2000 RPM, it just ran, for lack of better words, it ran really weird. Now all of that stuff's straight. And it's actually running great, but the problem is it just doesn't make any power. What turbo is on this? 189 bucks. That's amazing that you can even buy a housing for that much. All right, so maybe that's the problem. So that's not good. So obviously at that point it doesn't make sense to turn it up any higher. And to be honest, really the only reason I have it as high as I did was for the sake of troubleshooting. Ultimately, everything to me points towards the turbo, and since you said it's a $189 turbo, I wouldn't, you know, put it past it being the turbo. And you take like a car like this to any other shop in America, the minute it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, they tell you the valve springs are the problem. But in my experience, the valve springs are never the problem. Like if you're trying to rev this thing to, you know, 90,000 RPM or run 150 pounds of boost on it, then maybe. But with what you're doing, everyone else in the world is using the same valve springs, so it's definitely not that. Yeah, it's when you're working, you just want to work. I think it's just fair to, you know, the customer's car that I'm working on. You want me to work on your car, not stop and talk to 946 other people throughout the day. Yeah, so I've spent literally the entire day on, oh, that's the other thing. I put it on the dyno, and 9 seconds into it, I was about to call you and say we're done. But I kind of experimented a little bit. I think you got something going on maybe with your drive shaft, maybe a little too long or something. Something in the back end is just knocking and clanking and going apeshit back there. The stuff is so inexpensive in relationship to kind of what dyno time and your time and troubleshooting and just kind of bullshit is worth. I would probably pick up a VS Racing blow-off valve, 2 wastegates, and then one of their turbos. So we're gonna go out on a limb here and assume that the $180 turbo that he was given to for free is the problem here. Everything else just seems to check out. So he's gonna order a new turbo and stuff tonight, throw it back on. We'll kind of go for a round 2. After our conversation, he ordered some new parts. I can't really see it, but got a new turbo and some new wastegates. So I just went from basically like a Chinese eBay, Amazon, whatever, 76 millimeter, and we switched over to a VS Racing 78 millimeter. So I'm gonna warm the car up, and then we're gonna see if this thing will make a little bit more power. Let's give it a try on gate, see what it does. The numbers aren't too crazy in comparison, but at 4 pounds, who really cares? But you can see how much just happier it appears to be running. So once we turn the boost up, hopefully we'll be in good shape this time. Went up a little bit more on dome pressure. We're at 15 now, and we're already making about the same power we made before when I had the thing maxed out at 40 or 50 PSI. So it looks promising. Just gotta tweak it a little bit more still. About 3 or 4% correction up top. That's pretty good, and it made 560, which is more than it made before, with basically double the boost. So this is looking really promising. They've been driving by like that for the last 2 hours. I'm gonna commit suicide. There's no way around it. Blue is where we're currently at like 12 pounds. The red is where we're at before with CO2 maxed out. And I honestly don't remember what the manifold pressure was, but it was up there pretty high. So turned up a few more pounds, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. Four-wheeler guys are just awful today. And lucky me, one of my neighbors just got a dirt bike, and he gets home from work from about the same time as me, so I go home and I listen to the same shit.
Every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it.
I'm pretty much at my breaking point with it as I sit here getting ready to rev a motor to 7 grand. There we go. 675. The fueling is beautiful. 0% correction, and there's one little spot with the 1, just enough to let you know it's working. The graph looks so much better now. Really, I mean, even if this thing makes 700, it's done everything it needs to do, but if it can make a little bit extra, that should be more fun, I would imagine. The only change on this one is timing. What, it make 675 last time, so I'd be kind of shocked if it doesn't make 700 here now that I just jinxed it. Even better, 720. It's literally a whole new car with this turbo. And I know for sure somebody's gonna say this isn't fair because it has more timing in it now. But with the other turbo, I tried the timing aggressive as hell, not much, everything in between. Basically tried every variation of combos that we had there, and it wouldn't do anything. So this turbo, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, is working significantly better. We'll do this again when we finish up, but here's basically the difference between the most boost that the other turbo would make and where we currently are. And I still think we got a little bit of boost to go. Check out some spark plugs just to make sure we're not about to kill ourselves. Oh Jesus. Oh, you stupid ass. I don't even care about the power. I'm just impressed with how much happier the graph looks. 5 pounds more CO2 on this run. Didn't like that. This is usually one of the first signs that you're out of turbo. You can see with more boost, the power ramped up in a lot sooner, and then it just kind of flatlined with where it was previously. So to get to 800 on this one, it may or may not do it. Realistically, this is about what I would expect this turbo to do. So if it makes 800, that'd totally be a bonus. So we'll probably try 1 or 2 more runs just for the hell of it. But I'm not quite sure we're gonna get there. Either way, this is already, what, 60, 70 horsepower more than we needed. So we're still in good shape. All right, last shot. Actually turned the boost back down, did a couple other little small things. I don't think it's gonna do 800, but hopefully I'm wrong. That's about all it's got. So the blue is our new turbo at 22.3 psi, and the red is the old turbo at 21.9 psi. So basically identical. And at this particular point, if we look here at power total, we're at 267 horsepower difference.